Sometimes, you pour yourself into a relationship thinking that if you are kind enough, supportive enough, and patient enough, love will naturally grow stronger. You clear your schedule when he calls. You are understanding when he's distant. You make yourself available because you believe that love thrives on presence and effort. And yet, instead of cherishing you, he starts taking you for granted. He doesn't lean in closer, he drifts further away. It feels unfair, doesn't it? You gave the best of yourself. You were what you thought every man wanted, the perfect partner, and somehow, it still wasn't enough to make him step up. Here's the hard truth that is difficult to swallow but liberating once you accept it. Being endlessly accommodating doesn't ignite his desire, it dulls it. When your world begins to orbit entirely around his, you lose the mystery, the space, and the challenge that fuels genuine pursuit. Instead of being drawn toward you, he settles into comfort. You become a given, not a gift. Why does this happen? It's not because men are inherently careless or cruel. It's because human nature, especially in romantic attraction, thrives on earning, not on having things handed over without effort. When something or someone feels too easily accessible, the mind registers it as low stakes, low urgency, and when the stakes feel low, motivation fades. This doesn't mean you should play childish games, pretend to be someone you're not, or treat him coldly. True attraction isn't about manipulation, it's about balance. It's about knowing when to be present and when to give space. It's about having a life so rich and meaningful that your worth isn't dependent on his attention. Think about it. When you first meet someone who fascinates you, there's a natural curiosity, a spark of uncertainty. You don't know their every move. You can't predict their every thought, and that keeps you engaged. The more you learn, the more you want to discover. But if everything is offered too quickly, the mystery dissolves. The mind moves on. For many women, the instinct to give more when a man pulls away feels natural. If I just love him harder, he will love me back. But in reality, overgiving often smothers the space where attraction grows. It teaches him that your love doesn't need to be earned, that you will always be there no matter what effort he puts in. And deep down, effort is what makes love feel real to the human heart. Men, like women, are wired to value what requires investment. This isn't about money or material gain, it's about emotional, mental, and even physical investment. When he works for your time, your trust, and your affection, he becomes more emotionally tied to you because his own effort convinces him you are worth it. It's a subtle but powerful loop in human psychology. We treasure what we work for. So, if you've been giving without boundaries, it's time to pause and ask yourself, am I truly honoring my worth? Or am I hoping that self-sacrifice will earn me love? This shift doesn't mean becoming distant for the sake of being distant. It means filling your life with so much meaning, joy, and purpose that you naturally become someone worth chasing. You are not a background presence in his life, you are the woman who inspires him to show up as his best self because he knows you have standards. And that access to you is a privilege, not a default. In the parts ahead, we will explore exactly how to embody this balance, how to be warm and inviting without being overly available, how to spark pursuit without playing games, and how to ground your self-worth so deeply that love feels like a choice, not a lifeline. The journey begins here, by recognizing that the love you deserve is not built on overgiving, but on mutual effort, mutual respect, and the irreplaceable value you bring just by being the fullest, most authentic version of yourself. The art of authentic unavailability. When people hear the phrase, be less available, they often picture coldness, delayed replies, or calculated distance. But true, magnetic unavailability isn't about playing hard to get, it's about genuinely having a life that doesn't revolve around someone else. There's a huge difference between pretending to be busy and actually being busy living your own life. Pretending creates tension and mistrust. living fully creates respect and attraction. When you're authentically unavailable, you don't need to force mystery, it exists naturally because your world is rich and full outside of romance. You have friends you love spending time with. You have passions that light you up. You have goals that excite you so much. You wake up eager to start the day. This kind of life doesn't just attract a man, it inspires him. Men, just like women, are drawn to people who are deeply engaged in their own purpose. When you're in that state, you become magnetic without even trying. You're not waiting by the phone. You're not rearranging your life for every last-minute request. You have your own rhythm, and if he wants to be part of your world, he learns to respect it. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being self-respecting. You are saying, without words, I value you, but I also value myself. And the life I'm building matters just as much as this relationship. And here's something powerful: when you create space in a relationship, you give him the opportunity to step in and fill it. If you're always there, always initiating, always carrying the emotional weight, he never has to wonder, what if I lose her? He never has to imagine life without you. And so he never feels the urgency to protect and nurture the connection. But when you step back, not in anger, not in punishment, but simply because you have a life that calls to you, he notices the difference. The absence of your constant presence creates a gap. And in that gap, his mind starts to move toward you again. Think about fire. It needs oxygen to burn. Smother the flame with too much fuel too quickly, and it dies. Give it space to breathe, and it grows stronger. The same is true in love. Attraction needs room to stretch. If you've been overgiving, this shift might feel uncomfortable at first. You might fear that if you stop trying so hard, he'll lose interest. But the truth is, if someone's love depends entirely on your constant overextension, that love isn't sustainable. Your goal is not to make him chase for sport, it's to inspire him to choose you over and over, because you bring value to his life that he could never find in someone who has abandoned her own. So, how do you start practicing authentic unavailability? Fill your calendar with what matters to you. Not just work, but friendships, hobbies, self-care rituals. Respond. Don't react. You don't need to answer every text within seconds. Protect your personal goals. Don't put them on pause for romance. Let him initiate. Not every time, but enough so that he's invested too. When you live this way, your worth doesn't have to be spoken, it's felt. He knows that winning and keeping your love means showing up, because you won't just hand over your heart without care. In the next part, we'll explore the subtle signals you can send without words that inspire a man to rise to the occasion and treat you as the rare and irreplaceable woman you are. Speaking without words. Sometimes the most powerful messages you send to a man are the ones you never say out loud. The way you carry yourself, the energy you bring into a room, the boundaries you quietly maintain, all of these speak volumes about how you expect to be treated. The beauty of nonverbal communication in relationships is that it bypasses defensiveness. You're not nagging, pleading, or explaining. You're simply living in a way that communicates your value. And people, whether they admit it or not, respond more strongly to how you are than to what you say. When you walk into a cafe and he sees you genuinely smiling with friends, absorbed in your own joy, he doesn't need a lecture on your independence, he can see it. When you excuse yourself from a call because you have a class, a workout, or simply some quiet reading time, you're showing, not telling, that your life is full and balanced. When you calmly decline last-minute plans because you've already committed to something else, you're sending the message, my time is valuable and I treat it that way. Men are deeply influenced by what you model. If you model that you accept inconsistency, you'll get inconsistency. If you model that you expect consideration, you'll receive more of it. And if you model self-respect, you'll naturally attract respect in return. This doesn't mean you have to be rigid or cold. The most magnetic women are those who pair warmth with standards. They're approachable but not desperate. Kind, but not endlessly accommodating. Flexible, but not at the cost of their own well-being. Here's something many women overlook. Attraction is not just about chemistry, it's also about credibility. If you say you value honesty but continue to tolerate broken promises, your words lose weight. If you say you want commitment but settle for crumbs of attention, you teach him that he doesn't need to give more. Your actions are the evidence of your worth in his eyes. You can tell him all day that you deserve effort. But when you live it, when you let low effort fade out of your life naturally, he feels it in a way that no conversation could match. Nonverbal cues that strengthen your value in his mind. Your pace. You don't rush the relationship. You let it unfold naturally. Your focus. When you're with him, you're present, but when you're apart, you're fully immersed in your own life. Your boundaries. You don't sacrifice your values to keep his interest. Your self-care. You invest in yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally without apology. When these patterns become your norm, you no longer need to worry about making a man chase you. The right man will recognize your worth and rise to meet it. The wrong man will fall away and you'll have created space for something better. When you stop chasing, love finds you. There's a certain exhaustion that comes from always being the one to try, to fix, to hold everything together. You feel it in your body, the tightness in your chest when you send another, just checking in, text. The restless nights wondering if you did something wrong. The slow drip of self-doubt when your efforts are met with silence or half-hearted replies. This cycle leaves you feeling like you're running after something that keeps slipping away. And here's the truth you might not have wanted to admit. Chasing doesn't bring love closer, it pushes it further. When you chase, you're sending an unspoken message. I'm not sure if you want me, but I'll keep trying to prove I'm worth it. The problem is, love built on proving will never feel secure. Because the moment you stop proving, the fear creeps back in. But when you stop chasing, something shifts in you and in him. You begin to reclaim your energy, your time, your emotional balance. You stop pouring yourself into a bottomless cup and start filling your own. You begin to radiate something men can sense instantly: self-possession. Self-possession is magnetic because it tells the world, I am whole, with or without you. I want you, but I don't need you to complete me. This energy changes the dynamic entirely. Men are drawn to it, not because you're playing a game, but because your confidence and fullness signal high value. You're not standing still waiting to be chosen, you're moving forward. And if he wants to join you, he has to keep up. And here's where it gets powerful. The moment you stop chasing, you create space for him to step forward of his own free will. Not because you begged, not because you convinced him, but because he wants to. This is the foundation of real love, when two people choose each other freely. Not out of obligation, fear, or constant persuasion. When you stop chasing, you also start seeing more clearly. You can tell the difference between a man who genuinely values you and one who only enjoys the attention you give. Without the blur of constant effort clouding your vision, you can finally see his actions for what they are. And sometimes, you'll realize that the one you were chasing was never capable of giving the love you deserve. That realization, though painful, is freedom. It frees you to attract someone who meets you where you are, without you having to shrink, bend, or exhaust yourself. This is how love comes to you. You focus on living a life that excites you. You surround yourself with people who nourish you. You protect your peace and your heart. You welcome love when it arrives. But you don't put your life on hold waiting for it. Building the self-worth that love can't shake. Everything we've talked about so far: authentic unavailability, non-verbal boundaries, letting love come to you, all of it rests on one core foundation: how you see yourself. If your self-worth is fragile, every delay in his text, every change in his tone, Every missed plan feels like a threat. You'll find yourself overthinking, overcompensating, and overgiving because deep down you fear losing him means losing your value. But when your self-worth is solid, you're not so easily shaken. You can feel disappointed without feeling diminished. You can love without clinging. You can let go without collapsing. Self-worth isn't just knowing you deserve good love, it's living in a way that proves it to yourself daily. That means keeping promises to yourself. If you say you'll go for a run, call your sister, or work on your side project, follow through. Every time you keep your own word, you trust yourself more, not abandoning your needs to keep someone else comfortable. When you silence your feelings just to avoid conflict, you're telling yourself your needs don't matter, and over time, you start believing it, choosing environments that reflect your value. This isn't just about relationships. It's about friendships, work, even the way you treat your own home. Surround yourself with people and spaces that make you feel respected, inspired, and at peace. Allowing yourself to receive. Many women find it easy to give but uncomfortable to receive. Accepting love, kindness, and support without guilt reinforces the belief that you are worthy of them. Here's the thing. A woman with high self-worth is not arrogant or untouchable, she's grounded. She can say yes without fear and no without guilt. She doesn't need to prove her worth because she lives in it. And that energy is unmistakable. Men feel it. They sense that you're not looking to be completed, you're looking to be complimented. You don't need someone to build you. You need someone who can stand beside you. Self-worth also gives you clarity. When a man is inconsistent, you don't get trapped in maybe he's just busy cycles. You see the pattern for what it is and choose accordingly. When someone shows genuine care, you don't doubt it or sabotage it, you allow yourself to believe it. The more you invest in yourself, the more naturally you attract people who see your value without needing a sales pitch. And those who can't or won't meet you at that level, they fade away, not because you pushed them, but because they can't exist in the environment you've created for yourself. In the final part, we'll talk about the lasting shift, how to make this new way of loving and living so natural that you never slip back into overgiving or chasing again. Making this your new normal. The real magic isn't in making these shifts for a few weeks to get a man's attention, it's in letting them become who you are. When boundaries, self-worth, and authentic unavailability are woven into your everyday life, you stop using them as strategies and start living them as truths. This is where everything changes. You're no longer trying to be high value, you simply are. You're not calculating how to respond to his text. You're genuinely responding from a place of balance. You're not withholding yourself to create scarcity. You're simply busy loving your life. Here's the secret. Men can always tell when something is a tactic versus when it's your nature. Tactics might work in the short term, but they eventually crumble under the weight of reality. When it's truly who you are, it never cracks because you're not performing. You're just existing. The woman you've become in this process doesn't fear space in relationships, she understands it creates oxygen for love. Doesn't confuse constant contact with real connection. Doesn't lose herself when she loves, she expands herself. Doesn't chase, she attracts. And because you've built your self-worth from the inside out, nothing external can topple it. If a man leaves, it's not the end of your worth. It's just the clearing of space for someone who fits better. If a relationship shifts, you can adapt without abandoning yourself. When you live this way, love stops feeling like a high-stakes hunt. You're not scanning every interaction for signs of trouble. You're simply living in a way that naturally filters out the wrong fits and draws in the right ones. This isn't about being cold. It's about being warm, open, and deeply loving without sacrificing the self that makes you magnetic in the first place. So as you move forward, remember this. The goal was never to make him chase. The goal was to become a woman so aligned, so fulfilled, and so grounded in her own worth that only a man who truly values her has the privilege of walking beside her. Because in the end, love that's worth keeping isn't the kind you have to chase. It's the kind that meets you where you are and walks with you, step for step, into the life you're building. Remember, true love never needs you to chase it. It will find you when you live in alignment with your own worth. Let your heart rest in peace. And keep walking forward, knowing you are worthy of the very best. If this message touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so you won't miss the next healing whisper from Whisper to Heal. Together, we'll move through and rise above.